Onyx 38, Fox 38, MARZOCCHI 38. If you don't say MARZOCCHI like Hulk Hogan, I don't even know who you are. We're going to take a look inside and out and go take it for a ride and find out if it's just a Fox 38 Rhythm rebadge. So this is what you're going to get, guys. The famous MARZOCCHI, however you say it, red box. And it's pretty simple because it's like not the flagship model from MARZOCCHI, you know what I mean? And this is what we got. We got a Super Z 29 170mm travel Grip X damper and basically your standard Enduro fork 170 travel. Now I'm more curious about the air spring on this Super Z than I am the damper, but this is the new Grip X damper. And let me tell you, it feels identical to the Grip 2 damper, and that's not a bad thing because that was an excellent damper. But there's a couple secrets they're doing in this damper that you haven't heard in the marketing, so stay tuned. Now we gotta have a little business lesson. We gotta understand that Fox doesn't want this fork to compete with the flagship 38. So everything's a little dumbed down with a quick release and no pinchable assembly on the lower legs. Now that being said, we do have Fox manufacturing and it's excellent. We have super defined clicks of rebound and it feels identical to the Grip 1 damper on the lower rebound adjuster. Now there was definitely a step up in price for this fork at $999, but you do get some extra features like a painted crown and some shiny gloss paint throughout this fork. This MARZOCCHI Super Z has the cool arch, and on the left is the old Fox 38 Grip 2 damper, and it's kind of ugly in my opinion. So the Z is definitely taking the crown as far as looks go, and I like that upper painted crown, just give it a level of premiumness. Now pretty cool here, the Super Z or the MARZOCCHI, you can use all your Fox 38 fenders. It has the identical bolt holes, and I have a whole bunch of them laying around, so that's good news. Now comparing the back of the old 38 to the Super Z, we basically have the same technology as far as those channels up to the bleeder valves. Pretty impressed by how much the Super Z weighs, coming in at 5 pounds 1 ounce. If you cut enough steer tube off this, you could get it sub 5 pounds, which is super impressive. Now the Grip X damper isn't a drastically new design, and that's a good thing, because that means they got it right the first time and you don't need to upgrade your fork. But this one does have some improved range on the high speed and low speed compression, like you can really feel the difference when you push down on it. I always get these comments like, you need to strip the fork down when you get it from brand new. And I'm like, who in the fuck wants to do that? So this time I'm actually going to do that. I'm going to take it fully down and see what's inside of it from the factory. Remember, this isn't a marketing model. I bought this from the store. Now the commenters were completely justified because what I'm about to show you is how much lower leg fluid was in this brand new fork. And they definitely went cheap on the lower leg fluid as it takes 40 cc's of fluid on the damper side. And there's a little secret on the left bowl that you're going to find out in a second. Now she's got her panties off. This is the Super Z air spring, and it's precisely what I suspected. This is a Fox 38 Rhythm air spring, as we can see on the screen. Does this mean it's a Fox 38 Rhythm? I don't think so. They probably got some extra technology and it's got a new damper in it. But we do have a massive negative air chamber on this basic air spring. And there's quite a bit of goop on this fork. Remember, it's got 0 miles. I just took it apart from the factory. The repair manual for the 38 calls for 20 weight gold oil on top of the air piston. And I think it's that oil solidifying if you have a bunch of goop on your air piston like this. There's a new clip holding the air spring in, and if you're a mechanic person, this is good news because this clip's really easy to lose and remove. On the top side of the air piston, or the air side of the fork, we have 2 tokens installed from the factory, just like the Fox 38 170 Travel. And I'm wondering at this point, should I take them out? Nah, I'm gonna leave them in for the ride. Inside the inner stanchion on the air side, we have a little dimple, and it's lower down on the stanchion. I'm not sure what that does, but I did learn from the last video with the DVO that that's critical on how the fork rides. Okay, nothing exciting on the air spring side, so we're going to pull the Grip X damper out of the upper stanchion with a crescent wrench, and take a look at what's going on that side. So press like for gouging up my brand new fork. Do not use a crescent wrench on the compression side unless you want to put a gouge in your fork. Check out my $10,000 dyno tester for suspension. With both compression knobs fully closed, it takes about 13 pounds of pressure to push the damper down. With the compression wide open, it only takes about 4 pounds of pressure to push the damper all the way down. So there's a huge range in compression on this fork. Before I pull the compression assembly out, I'm like, do I have the fluid? That's what came out of it, and I don't know what kind of fluid that is. So I went on the computer and they have a new upgraded bath chart. So here's the secret. The Grip X and the Grip X2 are now running Fox 4-weight oil, which is basically Motor X pink oil. And I can tell you from experience, Motor X oil is the absolute best thing you can put in your damper. So why is your air piston clogged with grease? It's not grease. It's 3 cc's of 20-weight gold oil. The compression assembly on the Grip X damper looks virtually identical to the Grip 2 damper. That does not mean it's the same if it looks similar. It has some different colors in it, and I'm sure it's going to ride even better because the Grip 2 was absolutely excellent and they had 4 years to develop this thing. There was no official instructions I could find for the Grip X damper, but there's a bleed hole inside of the tube here, so I'm assuming it's identical to the Grip 2. And this is the absolute best system because the compression oil can purge itself out into the lower leg fluid and they're not going to mix because they're not different fluid. Servicing the Grip 2 and the Grip 1 and the Grip X is the absolute easiest. Basically, you pump it a couple times, fill it up to the bleed hole, and stuff the top cap in. Do you really need to service your fork? Brand new? Absolutely not. It was a little bit short on lower leg fluid, but who cares? I'm not going to do any fancy setup for the first ride on this fork. I'm only going to use a little sticker on the lower leg. We're going to see if it's that set it and forget it style fork. The cut on the steerer wasn't too straight, but this is the Sam Pilgrim garage, so we're going to call it Pure Dreams. Direct mount 200 rotors is a good thing, unless you just put 203 rotors on your fork or your bike for the last fork. When you see the MARZOCCHI Super Z on an ad, of course it looks good, but here it is in the grungy garage. And I personally think it's the best looking Fox fork that's ever been made, but let me know what you think in the comments. Like I told you before, all the Fox fenders do bolt on to the MARZOCCHI Super Z, and this is the longest Fox fender they make. It's a bit of a pain in the ass to put on because you gotta unbolt the bleeder valve, so I got this badass monkey nuts fender. It's from England, and that's about the only thing they know how to do right is make rain protection. Now the Super Z is the quietest Fox or MARZOCCHI fork that's ever been made. It has almost no sound even when you get into the bottom of the travel. But this is the pavement, let's see how it sounds on the trail. The Super Z is marketed as a progressive air spring, and I can tell you it's very progressive. I'm scratching my head right now going, I think I know what this feels like. It feels like a RockShox Zeb. With minimal setup from the back of the sticker on this fork, the first drop on dirt was really impressive. Super progressive, meaning it likes to get rowdy. But knowing Fox, it does have some small bump sensitivity. It's not like the Zeb, it just left all the small bump sensitivity in the trash can and rides good on aggressive terrain. Now the Super Z contains all the good characteristics of the Zeb, like excellent jumping and pumping on blue flow trails, with the addition of Fox's lovely small bump sensitivity. And like I told you before, the Super Z is minimally quiet. Only when you get to the last part of the travel and you're whacking it does it make a little bit of noise from the air spring. 5 minutes on the Super Z, it's really impressive. All suspension is just getting so good nowadays, it's hard to choose a favorite. Now it's not all perfect. Progressive forks can be a little bit tricky to set up, including this one. So basically, I feel like I'm bottoming out when I'm doing this section of trail. So I'm over there adjusting my high-speed compression, and Ding Dong forgot to look at the O-ring, and I'm not even getting to the top 2/3 of the travel. If you remember from the front of the video, the fork does have 2 tokens in it, but I did not bring my shock pump because I didn't want to do a whole tuning setup experience on this. I just wanted to go actually ride the bike for once. Now there's 10 clicks of high-speed compression on the Super Z, and it's a very wide range of high-speed compression. So you're gonna have a ton of bottom out control, that's the bottom line. So eventually at this point I realized, oh, I wasn't using all the travel, so I opened her back up and took it back out. Now even with the compression wide open, I basically can't access the top 2/3 of the travel. That's the problem with progressive forks. If you're a C+ rider, like myself, and not at Red Bull Rampage, they can be a little tricky to set up. Now what I thought I was gonna get was a Fox 38 rhythm. And what you're really getting with the Super Z is Fox's direct answer to the Zeb saying, hey, we got a single crown Red Bull Rampage fork. The Super Z is going to take a bit of work for a C+ rider like myself, but it's an absolutely amazing fork like most suspension nowadays.